Welcome to Scott Fox After 9. It's been a great 24 hours. I got to be completely honest with you. I am in a fantastic mood getting ready to go into this episode here today. And part of the reason for that is it's been very humbling to see how many people have been tagging me in their Spotify year-end wrap. There are some listeners that are spending north of 10,000 minutes going back to January 6th, listening to Scott Fox After 9. And I think that is unbelievable. Thousands of people have made me their number one podcast. So if you're one of my amazing, well, you clearly are. You're listening to this episode. Thank you very much. You don't know how much this means to me. When I lost my radio job, which was exactly a year ago today, is when they let me go. I was determined to prove that I don't need a radio station to have a big audience. And I've been working on proving that ever since. And the numbers on After 9 over the last 11 months have been simply overwhelming in a lot of different ways, but in a great way as well. Now, maybe you don't know that while you see your Spotify wrap, as a podcast creator, I can get a wrap on the podcast itself. So let me give you a few top line numbers if you're one of those people that's wondering how many people listen to the pod. In 2025 so far, 7.2 million minutes listened to of this podcast over 54 different countries, although Canada and the US are the top two by a mile. 7.2 million minutes were spent listening to After 9. That works out to 120,000 hours. Now, I didn't hit the top 10 on the Spotify nationwide charts this year. Kind of want to, and I'm going to make that a goal for 2026, but I peaked at number 11 this year, and I spent 4 weeks on the chart. When it comes to how often people listen and how frequently they do, 35% of Scott Fox After 9 listeners listen to an episode within 24 hours of when it's released. 40% have binged more than 2 episodes in one day. When it comes to competitors, who else are people listening to that also listen to Scott Fox After 9? As a creator, it tells me that. And my biggest competitors are, number 1, no real surprise to me, the Joe Rogan Experience. The people who listen to this pod also listen to Joe Rogan, Armchair Expert with Dax Shepard, and I was a little bit surprised at this one, Dateline NBC. I've also got a couple other stats, and then I'm going to get into this episode. I'm not doing this to brag, just as a matter of interest, so that you can see when you listen to this pod, you're part of a bigger community. Fans of After 9 listen to this pod for longer than 99% of all other shows on Spotify. 99%. We got more shares on this podcast than 99% of other podcasts out there. And 99% more comments than any of the other shows out there. So we're in pretty good company here. Me hosting it, you listening to it. We are all in this together, and so far, so good. It's been a really great year, and I'm going to talk more about the pod and how I got to the point that I'm at now over the next couple of weeks, and then I am going to take a bit of a holiday. I'm going to take some time off between Christmas and the New Year, so just know that that's going to happen. But I do have some special episodes that I'm going to be recording that are going to drop during the break. One episode is going to be completely dedicated to recreational cannabis. All the different issues surrounding cannabis and even what the best strands are is going to get covered here. There's also going to be at least 1, likely 2 silent date updates. And I promise you, I'm going to do my level best to make this work and get Silent Date Guy on an episode before the year is over. So lots to look forward to here on After 9. Today, I'm going to begin. After all those accolades, it's amazing that the first thing I've got to do on the pod today is issue a correction. But one of the things I pride myself on is if I make a mistake, I'll admit it. And if I get it wrong, I will acknowledge it. And yesterday, I got it wrong. Yesterday, I was talking about the amount of money that Canada is sending to Ukraine. And I'm a little skeptical about what the hell's going on over there in Ukraine because some pretty senior officials directly linked to Volodymyr Zelensky are getting charged with corruption or being investigated for serious corruption allegations. Turns out a lot of that money may have been misappropriated. Well, I made a mistake. Yesterday, I said that Canada had pledged another $35 million to Ukraine. It was actually much higher than that. In context, here is the full address, the full set of remarks from our Foreign Affairs Minister, Anita Anand. Here's her giving you the correct amount of how much we're sending to Ukraine now.
That is why today I am here to make two announcements. First, I am pleased to announce that Canada, alongside several allies, will purchase a package of military capabilities under the Pearl program. This is the NATO vehicle for military support for Ukraine. Canada's contribution to the purchase of this Pearl package will be $200 million, bringing Canada's total contribution to $890 million over the past 6 months. Second, I am announcing that Canada is committing $35 million in security support through the NATO Comprehensive Assistance Package Fund. This brings Canada's contribution to the CAP to a total of $180 million. And in particular, that funding is going to support the purchase of resources such as fuel, medical supplies, communications equipment, gear, services, and more.
Well, there you have it. I was wrong. It wasn't another $35 million. It was $235 million. $235 million more dollars leaving Canada, going to Ukraine to do what? What's going to happen to that money? Am I crazy, or did we not have 2 million Canadians lined up at food banks over the last year? 2 million Canadians using food banks. Government has no more money to help us out. But they just found $235 million more dollars to send over to Ukraine, the Carney government. Yesterday, Ukraine is something that got brought up at the White House. The president was speaking to the media, and he got asked a question about that. Here's President Trump.
We have a problem with a war that our people are trying to settle now with Russia and Ukraine. We are not involved in the war monetarily anymore. Biden gave away $350 billion like it was candy. That's a massive amount of money. And much of it in cash, a lot of it in equipment. I don't give away anything. We sell the equipment to NATO. The European nations pay us for the equipment, 100% price. And then they bring it to Ukraine or whatever they do with it. But we're trying to get that settled. I've settled 8 wars. This would be the 9th, and our people are over in Russia right now to see if we can get it settled. Not an easy situation, let me tell you. What a mess. It's a war that never would have happened if I were president. Not even a chance. And it didn't happen for 4 years.
So there you've got a president who realizes his people have a very, very, very short runway for dealing with Ukraine. They are not interested in sending any more American tax dollars over to Ukraine. So what did America do? They said, sure, we'll still help out. If you guys want to give your money, buy equipment from us and send it to Ukraine. What a brilliant idea by the Americans. And now, sure enough, just like suckers, here we are lining up to spend money in America for stuff that'll never end up in Canada. It's going to go to Ukraine. Let's add it up. $9.5 billion plus to Ukraine. That's $5.6 billion in loans. Will we ever get those repaid? Highly unlikely. $2.4 billion in military aid, $1.5 billion in financial support and programs. So where does this money go when we send it out the door over to Ukraine? What are they doing with our money over there? And do they have a big need for cash? This $1.5 million we sent them. Seems like they've got everything they could possibly need to fight a war because they've got most of the world sending them arms. Canada is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, financial supporter of Ukraine. And frankly, I can't point to anything that shows where our money went. I can't see any receipts, and there doesn't seem to be any accountability. And now, just to put a cherry on top of this terrible Sunday in front of us, what do we got? One of the most. And I don't think I'm going too far out on a limb here by suggesting this. I don't want to be mean or derogatory, but facts are facts. And I would think that Chrystia Freeland is one of the most despised politicians in recent Canadian history. Lo and behold, all of a sudden, she ends up as Canada's special envoy to Ukraine. Why does Mark Carney need one of his senior people over in Ukraine basically full time? Why does he need her there? What is she supposed to be watching? Is she making sure Canadian tax dollars are spent appropriately? Well, she's certainly been meeting with some individuals that are definitely implicated in this corruption investigation. Chrystia Freeland, giving a speech just the other day, talked about some of the work she's doing in Ukraine and working through what she does during this corruption investigation. Here's Chrystia Freeland.
Ukrainians, yes, are fighting for their sovereignty, but they're also fighting for their vision of a transformed Ukraine. A Ukraine which is democratic, a Ukraine which is a rule of law country, a Ukraine which is able to enjoy the kind of widely shared prosperity that we sometimes take for granted here in Canada. And I know that at this conference, and this was the case in Kyiv last week, there were, of course, conversations about the corruption investigations. From my perspective, those investigations are part of this conviction that Ukrainians have, that they're fighting Russia and they're fighting to win, and they are also fighting for the kind of Ukraine they're going to build at home. Corruption revelations are always challenging. But from my perspective, it's really important for us to recognize that this is not, it's not Steve Paikin's investigative reporting that has uncovered stuff. It's not an international financial institution, like the World Bank that has gone in and said, oh my goodness. This is a Ukrainian institution working in Ukraine with the support of the people of Ukraine and of the Ukrainian parliament.
I am absolutely, completely gobsmacked at what she just said. I'm not gonna play it again, but you have the ability to hear it again. Hit rewind, go back, hit that back 10 seconds button a number of times. It's a minute and a half long. Listen to what she said again. Corruption allegations are certainly troubling. No kidding, Chrystia, no kidding. She also didn't deny that there's corruption over there. When there is a corruption investigation going on, and we're one of the biggest supporters, nobody has sent more money and supplies than us. If that's the case, we should be the ones demanding answers when it comes to corruption in Ukraine. Were they actually spending our money responsibly and using it for the intended purpose? Or have we got a whole bunch of Ukrainian politicians that have now got millions of dollars in the bank and living in a palace? Every time I see a picture of Ukraine on the news or on social media, there's a difference here. When I see a picture of Ukraine on the news, I see bunkers and I see soldiers in fields and they're getting ready to fight. They're waiting for the Russians to come over the hill. But when I see pictures of Ukraine on social media, TikTok and what have you, everybody's sitting on patios having a good time. You'd never even know there's a war going on. There's something about Ukraine. I've been saying it for a long time now. There's a reason that our government, left-leaning governments around the world, are so invested in Ukraine. There's something there that they want or something there they don't want other people to see, and I'm very deeply concerned about it. The amount of our money that they've sent over there, now there is no denying corruption allegations are serious. You heard Chrystia Freeland herself mention them. What the hell is going on over there? What are they doing with our money? It's pure insanity. I'm going to jump around a bit in this episode today. You're going to hear from various politicians and cabinet ministers and premiers and even the prime minister in this one. And I'm going to go on a couple of different topics. You may have heard that flight attendants with Air Transat may go on strike. They've now voted to give the union authority to withdraw their services if they can't reach a collective bargaining agreement. Well, yesterday, federal cabinet minister Patty Hajdu was asked about the possibility of a strike by Air Transat pilots. Please listen to Patty explain how it's Donald Trump's fault that this Canadian airline may walk off the job.
The strike notice that has been given by the pilots at Air Transat. Well, look, it's never great if there's labor disruption. Obviously, we have an economy that's, that is facing a lot of attacks as a result of tariff action and other trade-related activity, and we want our economy to be thriving during this time. And the airline sector plays an important role in all of that. But obviously, the parties are at the table. They are working with federal mediation services, and it's our hope and our expectation that they continue to have those difficult conversations and get to a deal.
If they don't get to a deal, will the government move in?
Well, look, these are all hypothetical questions. What I know is that the best deals are the ones that the parties arrive at together, and we have an incredibly skilled federal mediation service. And I would say also that 97% of these negotiations result in no disruption of labor. So let's hope that they continue to have those conversations in earnest and protect their industry, their employees, and of course the many passengers that are relying on them.
Okay, yeah, that's a fair point. There are a lot of passengers relying on them, and it's Christmas. Yeah, nobody wants to go overseas to see their family and friends in Europe and end up stranded there because the Air Transat pilots went on strike. Now, I don't know any of the issues surrounding this, and to be honest with you, I don't care what the issues are. I just know that this minister, again, trying to convince you that Donald Trump is responsible for every issue in this country, again tried to link it to what? Tariffs are the reason that a Canadian airline can't work out a deal with its pilots. I just can't. It's truly one of the dumbest arguments I think you could have made. Well, it's the tariffs. Yeah. I think what she was trying to suggest is that Canadians aren't flying like they used to, and namely the reason for that is because of the state of the economy. Well, let's keep in mind the reasons Canadians are broke really have almost nothing to do with Donald Trump. It has to do with us having a government that doesn't prioritize the middle class, that sucks as much as it possibly can out of the taxpayers' pockets and then squanders it on pet projects all around the world. That's the reason that people are broke. We also have an extremely limp Canadian dollar. It's just over 71 cents US again today. Canadians are broke. If that's what the reason is, that for some reason pilots can't work out a deal with the airline, okay, I guess I'll believe you, but I will not believe you about why they're broke. That is not a Donald Trump problem. That is 10 years of liberal government problem. That's exactly what that is. Now let me go to question period. Yesterday in Ottawa, the leader of the opposition, Pierre Poilievre, doing his level best. There's been a change in Pierre over the last couple of days. I think those layoffs at Algoma Steel, I think those ones hit him like a ton of bricks, because now it's coming out. Not only did the government know they were going to lay those people off, they still gave them $500 million tax dollars, knowing full well that they were going to lay people off. The government knew it, and I'm going to prove that to you. Don't take my word for it. I will play the audio for you coming up. First off, though, let's get to this new Pierre Poilievre. Very serious tone in the House of Commons. You can tell he is not in the mood to play games, and perhaps that's why yesterday, for a second day in a row, Mark Carney got up and left the House of Commons in the middle of question period because he didn't want to take another question from Pierre. The guy just got up and left. In our democracy here, he just left. I don't want to answer questions from you. I'm out. Wild. You might even hear that moment in here. This is yesterday, question period in Ottawa.
According to Canada's food price report, when the Liberals took office, the cost of a basket of groceries was $8,300. Now, it's $16,800, double. Liberal inflationary deficits and taxes on farm equipment, fertilizer, food processors have all exploded the cost of food. Tomorrow, that same report will be released projecting the cost for next year. Given the Prime Minister's promise to be judged by the prices at the grocery store, how much will Canadians have to spend on groceries to survive next year?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, let's get our numbers straight. The Canadian economy is the strongest growing economy in the G7, 2.6% annualized. Canadian wages are growing faster than inflation for every month that this government has been in office, 3.2%, over 2.2%. Unemployment is down. Wages are up. The land is strong. We're moving forward.
Wow. I don't like to usually go back, and usually I don't, because I'm aware that you can go back if you want to, and you can and listen to something again. And I always encourage you to do that so that you've got the context and you can say for certain you know what you heard. That's one I got to play again, because just listen to how tone deaf it is. Listen to the Prime Minister stand up in the House of Commons and rave about how great things are in Canada right now. Listen to him stand up and talk about how great our wages are, how great the economy is doing. Listen to how out of touch he is, or how he is directly lying to our faces. It's got to be one or the other. Listen again.
Mr. Speaker, let's get our numbers straight. The Canadian economy is the strongest growing economy in the G7, 2.6% annualized. Canadian wages are growing faster than inflation for every month that this government has been in office, 3.2%, over 2.2%. Unemployment is down. Wages are up. The land is strong. We're moving forward.
This is something that I've been trying to get at over the last couple of days. There's a lot of people who are very conflicted and very confused because they look around and things look really, really bad. But then they watch the Prime Minister say something like that and they think, well, maybe I'm just getting it wrong, or maybe it's just me that's in this circumstance because it sounds like the country is doing great. It's not you, it's him. Mark Carney said during the election, judge me by the price at the grocery store. It's now confirmed that basket of goods has doubled in price. No help is on the way. And all he wants to do is stand up in the House of Commons and rave about how great things are. Listen, I have no doubt that if you're a multi-billionaire like our Prime Minister is, things probably are pretty damn good right now. I have no doubt that if you own a lot of stock in Brookfield, you're probably doing pretty damn well right now. In fact, I'm going to read you a listener DM on Friday from somebody who got so tired of being screwed over by Mark Carney, they bought stock in Brookfield just to try and make up some of the money that Carney's sucking out of their pocket. It's brilliant. Brilliant. I'll talk about that one on Friday during listener DMs. Oh, that's tomorrow, by the way. All right, last chance to get those listener DMs in, and I'll have those tomorrow with the great Anna Almeida here. Let's hear more of question period from yesterday.
Mr. Speaker, as you walk down the grocery aisle, watching the prices rise before your eyes, know that the Prime Minister, who stashes his cash in a tax haven, says that you've never had it so good. You, the Canadian people who have seen your grocery bills literally double under this government, from $8,300 to $16,800 in a decade.
Shameful.
Tomorrow, we will find out in the Canada Food Price Report how much groceries will cost an average family next year. Given the Prime Minister has promised to be judged on the price of groceries, will he tell Canadian families how much they'll have to pay to survive?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, what this government is happy to tell Canadian families is we cut their taxes for 22 million Canadians. We cut the taxes on first-time home buyers. And we are investing. We are investing a budget which the leader of the opposition and the members opposite voted against. A budget that is going to cause $1 trillion of investment in this country over the next 5 years, grow jobs, grow futures for Canada. We believe in Canada. Come join us. Here, here.
It's just so out of touch. He is completely disconnected from the reality of Canada in 2025. He really thinks things are going great. He's actually chastising the opposition for not supporting his budget, which is going to leave your grandkids with insurmountable debt. He referenced how great he is and how much we should be grateful to him for that tax cut that he gave us back in June. The numbers are in on that. Actually, you know what? Let's talk about that tax cut that the Prime Minister gave us. This is from a Senate Finance Committee. They learned yesterday income tax cuts intended to deliver, and I quote, real change, is going to save the working poor about $11 a year. Not even $1 a month is what the Senate National Finance Committee was told yesterday. The cost of that tax cut, $5.8 billion. How much is it saving? $11. And this guy is taking a victory lap on it in the House of Commons. It's complete madness. I mean, this guy's running the country and he doesn't seem to even know what's going on here.
We voted against this Prime Minister doubling Justin Trudeau's deficit, which will drive up groceries even more. And what's he spending the money on? On corporate bailouts for companies that ship jobs out of Canada. The Prime Minister promised he would negotiate a win and have a deal by July 21st. Still no win, still no deal, still no elbows. And now 1,000 workers at Algoma Steel are losing their jobs. We now learn that the Prime Minister gave $400 million to the corporate executives of that company without any job guarantees. How is it the Prime Minister could have been so incompetent to saddle Canadians who can't afford to pay their bills with a $400 million bailout bill without any guarantee of jobs staying in Canada?
The Right Honourable Prime
Minister. Mr. Speaker, these are difficult times in Sault Ste. Marie, and our hearts go to the families. But as I quote the CEO of Algoma Steel, that there would be an even darker day if this government hadn't acted.
Exactly.
That loan, that support, saved 2/3 of those jobs. That loan, that support gives Algoma a bridge to the future that we are building strong in this country and that they voted against.
He's proud of himself.
Last time you spoke to Trump, sorry?
Who cares? I mean, it's a detail. It's a detail.
He is, everybody. He is proud of himself. He gave $400 million to a company who then turned around and laid off almost a third of their workforce, Algoma Steel. And by the way, yes, the government did know before they gave the bailout that 1,000 people at least were going to lose their job after they got all of that taxpayer money. Now, it was $400 million from the federal government and $100 million from the Ontario government. Yesterday, Colin DeMello, great reporter. He is the bureau chief at Queen's Park. He is on Global News. He sat down for a quick set of remarks from Ontario Premier Doug Ford. And Colin flat out asked the Premier, did you know before you gave away all that taxpayer money?
The head of Algoma told CTV yesterday that your government and the federal government would have been aware that there were job losses on the horizon. Is that true?
Yeah, well, we put in $100 million. The feds put in about $400 million. What the CEO told us that there'd be a dramatic change. If we didn't put it in, it'd be a lot more than 1,000 people. We need the federal government to start ramping up the procurement for the military, and we want to allocate all that steel, no matter if it's for the military or for the pipelines, over to Algoma until they can have a full staff there.
Some people might be quite surprised to find out that you were aware that these job losses were on the horizon.
Well, you know something? We have two choices. The Titanic was sinking up there. We either save, 2/3, or we don't save anything. And I believe in saving the company up there, allocating funds to keep them going, and that's exactly what we did.
What if we put in more money? Would that have saved more jobs?
Well, again, you'd have to talk to the people at Algoma, because we're there to help as many people as possible. And if we didn't put up that $100 million and the feds didn't put up $400 million, I don't think that plant would be standing right now.
Okay, I mean, that's one way to look at it. Premier Ford thinks he's done a very virtuous thing by giving away $100 million of your provincial tax dollars. Mark Carney thinks he's done a virtuous thing by giving away $400 million more of your tax dollars. $500 million to this company. And here's my simple question. How do you know they were telling you the truth? We have these two master negotiators here, Doug Ford and Mark Carney, best buddies over there, doing their best to protect Ontario. 1,000 people just lost their job. Let me point that out. We're down $100 million tax dollars now to this company who somehow convinced the premier of the biggest province in the country and the prime minister of the country in what sounds like somewhat of an extortion scheme, either give us $500 million or we're going to close down completely. Give us $500 million or we're out. We're going to let everybody go. So Doug and Mark, how did it work? Were you like, okay, we'll give you $500 million. Please don't close down because we're going to look terrible. And we just did this whole big thing about protect Ontario and Canada strong. You can't close down because we're going to look like idiots. Okay, fine. Give me $500 million. We're not going to close down, but we are going to let 1,000 people go. You know, at Algoma, There's really no downside here to calling the premier and the prime minister in and sitting them down in the office and saying, give us $500 million and we're going to cut 1,000 people off the payroll. So we're going to be up $500 million, down 1,000 employees. We'll be running a pretty efficient operation here if you guys do that, and you can have the bragging rights that we didn't let them go down. How long have they known that these 1,000 people in Sault Ste. Marie were going to lose their job? Because clearly they knew. How long have they known, and why did it not come up until after the company let these people go? I want to know the answer to that. You can't just give away $500 million tax dollars and say, oh, well, it could have been worse when they let 1,000 people go. It's insanity. How much is Algoma going to pay in taxes, and how many years do they have to be in business to repay $500 million? Are we ever going to make that money back? Or is it just gone? Was there any conditions about how the money gets spent? Did we at least make sure this isn't going to go to giving bonuses to executives at Algoma while 1,000 regular working class people lose their job? Why does nobody in government care as much as I do? I'm sick to my stomach that 1,000 people lost their job. These people knew about it and they're bragging. They're bragging. Well, it could have been a lot worse. Could have lost all the jobs. Okay, well, if we had lost all the jobs, not that I want that to happen either, we'd have $500 million back in the coffers. There's that. And I want to know if they would have closed anyway. You know, if I was trying to shake down the government for a lot of money, I'd probably tell them the same thing. Give me the money or I'm out. It doesn't seem like we're making any progress here in Protect Ontario or Canada Strong when this amount of people are losing their jobs. By the way, Algoma's just the most recent one. Let's go back to the second most recent one at Stellantis. Stellantis took a whole bunch of taxpayer money and then laid off thousands of people. Do you know what Stellantis is doing now? Just so you know, maybe you didn't see this yesterday on the news. Let me tell you exactly what Stellantis is doing now. See, we gave them, I believe it was $15 billion. $15 billion. You know what Stellantis is doing? They were in Washington yesterday with the other big automakers, sitting in the Oval Office with Donald Trump. Lo and behold, Stellantis is investing almost the exact same amount we gave them into America. Listen to this.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's a great day for us at Stellantis today because it's the day where we see CAFE regulation reconciled with real customers' demand. That's why at Stellantis we decided to invest to Jeep, Ram, Dodge, and Chrysler $13 billion in the next 4 years, increasing production by 50%, delivering to the market 5 new vehicles, and creating 5,000 additional jobs. That's because we believe in what you, Secretary Taffy, and all your team is doing in this country. We believe in growth.
Well, holy cow. You're paying attention to this, right? We gave them 15. They cut thousands of jobs. We gave Algoma $500 million. They cut 1,000 jobs. Stellantis is now investing $13 billion in America to create 5,000 jobs. What in the actual is going on here? What is going on? I don't know that we have the best and brightest running our country here right now, friends. And I'm sorry to say that. I know you'd love, especially over the holidays, to be able to rest your head at night on your pillow, knowing that we've got a steady hand on the till in Ottawa and at Queen's Park running the government. But I can't tell you that right now because none of this adds up. None of this makes any sense. And you know what the next big one is? We've got to renegotiate CUSMA with the Americans. Tomorrow, Mark Carney, Donald Trump, and Claudia Sheinbaum, the president of Mexico, they're all going to be in Washington for the World Cup draw. See, the three of us are all co-hosts of the World Cup. More money that we're spending that we don't have. And by and large, I don't think Canadians care because we're going to lose far more than we're going to make. But either way, we're paying a ton of money to have this thing, so the Prime Minister is going down to Washington for the World Cup draw. Is he going to be able to start trade negotiations again? I don't think so. It's not on his agenda for tomorrow. But the president did mention CUSMA our North American Free Trade Agreement just yesterday when he was talking to those U.S. automakers that are all doing massive investments into America and creating jobs in America. I'm not optimistic that we're going to get CUSMA renegotiated here, folks. Listen to this.
Can you also talk about the USMCA and what you're thinking about renegotiating that with the automakers?
Well, that's just an ongoing thing. It expires in about a year, and we'll either let it expire or we'll maybe work out another deal with Mexico and Canada. But look, Mexico and Canada have taken advantage of the United States, like just about every other country. In all fairness, it's not them. I'm not blaming them. But every country, because we had stupid people running our country. We had a lot of stupid people running. That's why we have $38 trillion in debt. But the beautiful thing about the tariffs is we'll start paying off that debt. The money coming in, they're finding money in our country now that they never knew existed. The other day, $30 billion. Where did it come from? I said, why don't you check the tariff shelf? They said, sir, that tariff hasn't started yet. It doesn't start till January. I said, no, it started 2 months ago. They called back, sir, you're right. It was from tariffs. No, we have a whole different country. I hope the Supreme Court, I pray that the Supreme Court understands the importance of the sensible, really, this would be country threatening if something happened with regard to that. The people that brought that case are bad people. They're very bad people. They hate our country. They represent foreign countries.
USMCA and CUSMA are the same thing, by the way. Doesn't sound like we can be all that optimistic about the renegotiation working out in our favor. Not yet, not with Mark Carney negotiating, because look where we are now. Tariffs have done nothing but go up. Nothing has improved. America's thriving, and we are crashing hard. The Prime Minister is not making any friends in Ottawa, by the way. Someone who just 2 weeks ago you would have sworn was his ally. Elizabeth May from the Green Party. She makes it in Scott Fox After 9 again. She's getting even more harsh with the Prime Minister. Listen to Elizabeth May now.
I'm someone who acts on principle, and I don't regret how I voted. But I voted based on trusting that the Prime Minister would keep his word, and that's where I went wrong.
Do you think the Prime Minister misled you then? Do you feel betrayed by him?
How could this be that a government would tell an opposition party leader in order to get my vote, it's in the budget, and it was in black and white in the budget, and then reverse that within 10 days? I don't know if the Prime Minister deliberately misled me, but what I can say without a shadow of a doubt is that the Prime Minister's word doesn't mean much to him. It's the kind of shock that means I know I can't again think, oh, well, I can trust this government. I can trust this Prime Minister to keep his word. No, I can't. So I won't be voting confidence in the government again.
You just heard it from Elizabeth May. Someone even further left than Mark Carney. You cannot trust this government. You can't. Nothing that comes out of their mouth is legitimate. Everything is a game to them. You can't trust them. Oh, and by the way, Elizabeth May in that clip wasn't 100% sure. She didn't really know if the Prime Minister flat out lied to her or if he changed his mind. We can now answer that question. Let me play this one for you. On CTV's Power Play, former Environment Minister Stephen Guilbeault was a guest of Vashi Kapelos. Listen to what he said about this topic.
One of the things that was difficult with the agreement was the fact that we had made an agreement with Elizabeth May from the Greens to support us in the budget by not including a specific subsidy to oil and gas. And it's explicitly stated in the budget that we wouldn't do that. And then we turn around 2 weeks later and we put it in this agreement with Alberta. That was, I was one of the person who was asked to work with Ms. May.
Did you help convince her to support the budget?
I did. I wasn't the only one, but I did, and I felt that this was not a genuine gesture on our part.
There you have it, right from the horse's mouth. There you have it, right from the horse's mouth. They screwed over Elizabeth May. She walked into it. She fell for it, and now even she's saying you cannot trust this Prime Minister. You know who else is mad? The NDP. Their interim leader, Don Davies. I played a lot of his stand-up in, was it yesterday's episode? I think it was yesterday's episode. He was great. Well, he's also pretty good in Parliament. Yesterday, he got a chance to ask Prime Minister Carney a question.
Mr. Speaker, this Liberal government is telling Canadians to sacrifice during a jobs crisis. They have no money to sign pharmacare agreements or meet their housing promises. But today, we find out they gave $400 million to Algoma Steel when they knew they were cutting 1,000 jobs. And they gave $100 million more than they admitted to Stellantis, who cut 3,000 jobs. Why did the Liberals give $500 million to companies that just eliminated 4,000 Canadian jobs?
You have every right, Canada, to be outraged at what is going on. You have every right to be asking, what the hell is happening in Ottawa? It seems like complete and total chaos. If you're an outsider looking in, it seems like complete and total chaos. This government has completely lost control of their spending, and they are reeling. When even the NDP and the Green Party are saying you cannot trust this guy, I think you should listen if you're a Liberal. Conservatives have already figured this out. We knew this a long time ago. We predicted this was coming. But if you're a middle of the road, kind of leaning a little bit towards Carney because of his resume and blah, 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 listen to the NDP and listen to the Green Party. They're not just saying they disagree with him. They're saying you can't trust him.
Who cares? I mean, it's a detail. It's a detail.
It's absolutely sickening what's going on. As someone who hates to see even a penny get wasted, what's going on right now just bothers the hell out of me. By the way, it's not just Carney. I've been telling you for a while, keep an eye on the people behind him because those are all Justin Trudeau's people. Carney likes to say his new Liberal government. It's not a new Liberal government. He's new. The rest of them are all Trudeau's people. Do you remember Greg Ferguson, the Speaker of the House, implicated in numerous scandals when he was the Speaker? An access to information request has turned up some of the interesting things that Greg likes to spend money on. Full credit to Blacklock's report, who points out that when he was Speaker, he spent $297,000 on travel. He went to spring break in Jamaica. He went on multiple different junkets. $297,000 to send that guy on vacation numerous times. This is a grift. They're in it to get as much as they possibly can for as long as they can possibly get it. I'm going to switch gears here now. A couple more things I got to cover before I get to the end of this episode, and I'm going to start off with something in Ontario right now. The annual EQAO test results are in. EQAO is a set of standardized tests that Ontario students write in, I believe it's grade 6 and grade 9, and the whole point of this test is to make sure that everybody is at a sufficient level. The government will say, by this grade, you should know this, 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 and that. And then everybody writes a test to see where they're at on that scale. Well, they're not very good. The government delayed the results because the new education minister, Paul Calandra, said he wanted time to study the results. Well, he's had his time, and wow, is it ever bad. Roughly only 2/3 of grade 3 students met the math standard. Half of grade 6 students met their standard. Only 58% of grade 9 students met their standard. This is clearly unacceptable. Here is Ontario Education Minister Paul Calandra.
The latest EQAO results have shown me that student achievement isn't improving fast enough. We can do better. Over the last few years, we've seen little progress in reading, writing, and especially math, and this is unacceptable. That's why I've taken the time to closely review these results to ensure we are doing everything we can do to improve student achievement. I will be appointing an advisory body to lead a comprehensive review of how Ontario supports student learning with a focus on math and closing achievement gaps. They will look at factors like why student outcomes aren't improving, whether the EQAO test aligns with what students are being taught, and how to better support students. Ontario families deserve answers and results. This review will get us the facts so we can fix what's not working. I want clear, practical recommendations that help teachers teach, help parents support their kids, and most importantly, help students succeed. We are building an education system that is relentlessly focused on student achievement because nothing matters more.
We're spending more money than ever on education, and we're getting results that are just marginally better than last year. Still completely and totally embarrassing. Half don't meet the standard. It's bananas. I'm very curious to see what this expert task force comes up with. Just recently in Alberta, I believe it was earlier this week, I played some of the proposed changes that they're going to do in Alberta. One of them is going to involve students that are high needs. One of them, and I said I don't want to comment on this one because I want time to think about it, and I really want to talk to some experts and hear from some educators so that I can help form an opinion on this. One of the things they're proposing in Alberta is basically going back to segregation. Students that have very high or complex needs in their own classroom, so they're not disrupting the class for everyone else. When there's these violent outbursts and high medical needs, it's very disruptive to the other students and it interferes with their learning. But do we really want to isolate kids and say, you're different, you need to be in another room? I have a real hard time swallowing that one, but I do understand the goal in that. And I'll be completely honest with you. The feedback that I've received so far from educators from Alberta, Ontario, and British Columbia, I've heard from teachers in all three provinces. And so far, I haven't heard one of them say that's a bad idea. Not one of them has said, my concern is real, segregating these kids is a bad idea. They've all said that's a good thing for students overall, and probably a good thing for those students that have high or unique needs. I'm still trying to form an opinion on that one, everybody, but I will read you some of those DMs tomorrow on Listener DMs. One more thing. I'm watching to find out what the hell is going on in British Columbia. They've got a conservative party out there that was getting real close to maybe forming government, real close. And now there seems to be a bit of a revolution or a revolt happening within the party. They're trying to oust the leader. I don't know much about John Rustad. I don't follow BC provincial politics that closely. I'll tell you, though, I've never seen John give a speech where I felt particularly motivated or I thought, wow, there's a guy with good, strong conservative ideals. Seems like his party wants to get rid of him. And yesterday, they basically did.
Your view, who is the leader of your party?
So I'm currently still the leader of the party. Nothing has changed since we discussed this morning.
Still the leader? What does that mean? Do you intend to? We've heard that there's been a vote of a majority of your caucus, as well as your board of directors.
So first of all, there hasn't been a caucus meeting that we've had at this particular point. So obviously there'll need to be a caucus meeting going forward, and at some point I'm sure there will be some discussion about this.
Will there be a caucus meeting before the end of the session?
That depends.
Do you plan to step down? I mean, there's been all this opposition.
I'm not stepping down, guys. I've got to get in quick.
Got to get me to GP. I'm sorry.
What a disaster. I felt like the Conservatives were finally making progress. I don't think BC is as left-wing as many people think BC is. I think there's a lot of good, smart, pragmatic, common-sense Canadians out on the West Coast that have had enough of seeing what's going on in their province, having had enough of the highest gas prices in the country and some of the most restrictive environmental policies in the country. I think, if I'm reading the room right, people in British Columbia have had enough. If there's an opportunity here to elect a common sense conservative government, I don't know why they wouldn't. But now there's all this infighting, and I'm not sure that that's going to help their cause, to be honest with you. Friends, that's my time for today. But hey, you're less than 24 hours away from another Scott Fox After 9. Tomorrow, Friday, Listener DMs. You can slide into my DMs at Scott Fox on air. Instagram, best for me, but whatever platform you use, I'm on all of them as well. I just don't necessarily check all of them all the time. But I'd love to hear from you. Comments, feedback, questions. Call me out if I've made a mistake or you think I'm on the wrong side of an issue. This is not an echo chamber. This is a podcast for me and you. And if you need more of something, less of something, want to just leave a nice comment, by all means, slide into my DMs. I'd love to hear from you, and I will be right back here with you tomorrow. As always, I will leave you with the sounds of Pat James and The Whole Truth. Hey now. See you tomorrow.